Hey guys, welcome to a With Friends episode of the Unjuggle the Struggle podcast. Today we are sitting down with the Real Moms podcast host herself, Shae Spitz. So this woman, I will tell you guys, she embodies like what it means to be a mompreneur, and I'm just so excited about where this conversation is going to unfold for us today. So Shae, thank you, my friend, for being here.
You are certainly welcome, Brittany.
I'm excited.
Okay.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. So tell us a little bit before we dive into this juicy conversation today. Tell us, who are we talking to? Like a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I actually came from a very small town of 600 people. I didn't come from a background of real estate. I didn't come from a background of entrepreneurs, although my dad is a farmer, which I don't think is considered an entrepreneur, let's be honest. But I started off a small town girl. I've always wanted to help people. So I actually went to school for nursing, realized that drawing blood was not my thing after a year of nursing school. So I got out of that. Then I went on to thinking that I wanted to be a counselor. I got an internship that was paid. So I was a case manager for mentally ill adults. I did that for about 5-6 years. Then my husband and I got into renovating properties. It was kind of a fluke ordeal. We didn't come from a real estate background, as I said before. And it was a free 3-hour class that led to a $200 investment in a 3-day course, essentially, which then led to a $25,000 commitment into this program, which at that time I was only making $25,000. We were pregnant with our second one, just bought a house, just got married. Like I was dead set on we were not going to be investing in this. But I had to look at it as an investment into ourselves and into our future. We ended up taking out credit cards, as crazy as that is. We did not have but a couple $100 in our account. So we took out credit cards at 0% interest for like 12 months, maybe 18 months, I don't remember, to invest in this real estate portfolio, or not a portfolio. It's just like a program to learn how to invest in real estate. And it ended up being the best thing we ever decided to do, but it was one of the hardest decisions we've ever had to go through. And that year, I'll never forget, was one of the hardest years. Like I wouldn't want to go through it again. Knowing where we're at today, I would, but the unknown is always so scary. And so fast forward, we did that for about 1.5 years, and I decided to get my real estate license. Passed my first time on the test, and I told myself, if I don't pass, I'm not doing this, because I'm not a test taker. I was not an A student. I was not an A-B student. I was a B-C student, and probably occasional Ds. I was not a very smart person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I hated the ACTs and all of that stuff. So it was like a 4-hour test. And I remember thinking, if I don't pass, I ain't doing this again. Fortunately, I passed. I hugged the lady. She was an older lady. She was super sweet. And I've never looked back since. I have loved the journey that real estate has provided me, the opportunities, the chances, the risk, all of the things, the face plants into the ground, all of it.
all of it, all while you've got 3 kiddos, right?
Yep. Got 3 little ones now, 10, 8, and 5. So that's always very interesting. Got my oldest daughter here in my office today. So it's just been a challenge. It's been a journey, and it's been wonderful all at the same time.
All at the same time. I want to go back to, first off, thank you for sharing your story, the high level, right? I'm going to go back to something that you really just honed in on. And it was this, like, we're going to invest in ourselves moment. Mm-hmm. And how do you make that type of decision?
So I remember thinking, like, I knew what I was doing was not going to get me where I wanted to go, because I always worked so hard, and no matter how hard I worked or how little I worked, I was getting paid the same. And I actually ended up, after we invested in that, I actually ended up going to my boss and I said, hey, my caseload is always so full. Could I get a bonus for every client or every consumer I took on beyond what our like baseline was? And she's like, no, that's just not how we do it. And I'm like, how am I going to make more money? How am I going to bring in more income without picking up another job and being gone more? I was like, I could go back to school and get my master's for $30,000 and make another $15,000 a year. I was like, that math ain't mathing. And so I fell in love with real estate. But yeah, kind of going back is like, I just knew that where our lives were headed was not where I wanted to be in 5, 10, 15 years. And I think that's why midlife crisis happens. I think people kind of get into this path. They do what they need to do to just kind of get by. They get up, go to work, come home, blah, 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 blah. And then they hit 40, 45, 50, and they're like, how the hell did I get here? Like they took no chances. They took no risks. They didn't go after their dreams. You know, how often when we're kids, go after your dreams. What do you want to do when you get older? You can do anything, blah, blah, blah. Well, when did that stop? Like we stopped telling ourselves that because we stopped believing it.
Yeah. So, we stop believing it because we start putting our, you know, our responsibilities in front of our face instead of our dreams in front of our face. And then as we know, we all make life choices, right? And you go left so many times, you're going to end up on the left path. And so for you to have this moment of like, I just know what we have now isn't going to work. It's not going to get us there. How do you, because this is something that has come up recently in a community call that I was hosting. It was like, when do you actually make that choice to invest in yourself? Like, do you think it's a confidence thing? Do you think it's such like a deeply rooted desire thing? Like, what is it that actually gets you to say, you know what, this is yes is my answer?
Yeah. I think you have the desire that you want more out of life, but the confidence doesn't come from the beginning. I think confidence comes with time, and it's so much more. It's not a ready, aim, fire. It's a fire, ready, aim. Like you have to just make that commitment and you have to make that jump. Otherwise it's never going to happen. And one thing that I heard years ago, which kind of sticks with me, is that nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to come dig you out of that rut. Nobody's going to come take you out of your little hole. Nobody's going to come and give you the money that you need or the knowledge and the experience. You have to do it for yourself. And it takes grit. It takes a belief in yourself. Like you have to know to your core that no matter what happens, you're going to make it work. And you have to continue to believe in yourself. Don't get the opinions of others. You start getting opinions of others and you will never be criticized by somebody doing more than you. You will only be criticized by those doing less than you. Oh, I got a whole other thing. I'll get into that here in a little while.
Oh man, now we've hit a nerve. We've hit a nerve.
I don't know about this. I don't care. It's
so true. It's so true. I think about, so it was the craziest thing. Like for me, I didn't actually invest in myself. Okay. Try not to fall off your chair here. It was, I mean, probably a year. Maybe it was a year before I actually left corporate, which at this point in time was just a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I had always like the company had always sponsored me going to events, always like, let's send Brittany here. Let's send Brittany here. Let's send Brittany here. Awesome. And that was all good and well, but it wasn't until I started like toying around, had this moment where I was like, you know what is this all for? Maybe I want to do something different. I don't have any idea what I'd want to do though. And I got to this point where it was like, I've got to expand my exposure. Like we only set dreams just up to the limits of what we've actually been exposed to.
Right.
And so I had this moment where I was like, okay, so I end up hiring this coach. It was totally by accident, almost did not even think I was going to be hiring this coach. And she ends up telling me, you know, about this women's conference and suggests that I go. It was the first time that I went to a conference that wasn't sponsored by my corporate job. And in that moment, I'm standing, it was called Powerhouse Women by Lindsay Schwartz. I talk about it often. I'm standing in this room of like 300-400 people, women, they're all dressed to the nine, like so, and the energy in that room of just like everybody wanting to be better. And at the same time, not having it all figured out, but knowing that they were worth and worthy, like investing in themselves, something clicked in me. And it was beyond just like absorbing all of the self-help, stuff I had done previously. It was like being in the room and actually making that investment to do that. And then that naturally, yes, it did lead to an investment into a mastermind. And then that led into another investment and couldn't even tell you how much I've invested in coaching. But I think that every single time every time I've invested in something, coaching like that, for gosh sakes, I have made a $25,000 mistake. And I can tell you that right now, like, and it doesn't feel good. However, what I've learned on the other side of it,
Yep.
oh my gosh. And it's so valuable, so
Very.
valuable.
Very. I've made well more than $25,000 in mistakes. Well more than that. So,
Thank you, my
but
friend.
you are certainly welcome. I can say for certain at least 125,000. So
All right. All right. You win.
I moved on from it. That happened like 4 years ago. I've moved on. But it
Well,
doesn't mean that it still doesn't sting. But you're
doesn't.
gonna make mistakes, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not gonna always make the right decision, but you don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures.
You learn more.
100% through and through. And I remind the agents that I help and coach and stuff is like I just don't want to, I don't want to make a mistake. I said, oh, honey, I 100% guarantee you will make a mistake. And I don't
Yeah.
mean to say that to scare you, but you have to understand that you will make a mistake. And if you don't make mistakes, you're not doing it big enough. You're not.
Yes. 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 So what has been, so you obviously gave one example of like the result of investing in yourself literally changed your freaking life,
Right.
changed your life. You never had looked at real estate. And now here you are, you have this thriving business. What is another example of like some of the results, the very specific results that you've seen from investing in yourself?
I mean, it kind of goes back to coaching. Whether you're doing it as a business coach, I started going to events kind of like you did, and that is truly investing in yourself. It doesn't have to be specific to real estate. I was going to mastermind groups. It's called Create Conference down in Atlanta, Georgia. And his 5 core values, he's actually my EXP sponsor, and that's how I got connected with the EXP and stuff like that. But his 5 core values are faith, health, relationship, business, and finances. And those first 3 pillars are extremely crucial in order to set that foundation for your business and your finances. You need your faith, health, and relationships because proximity is power. Like having that network and making those connections is so critical to your success in life, and not just in your business, but in your personal life as well. So investing in yourself, I remember going to one of those conferences. That's actually where I met Amberly Lago, which then led me to meeting you. You know, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So I love that. One of my favorite quotes as well. But yeah, I remember being down there and I was looking at joining this mastermind. And I remember Ken actually telling me, he's like, Shae, I know you don't make the money that a lot of these other people here. So let's, I'm willing to work with you on finances and stuff like that. Like, you can't look at a price and say, I can't afford that. You have to look at that and be like, how can I afford that? And what am I going to get in return? Because somebody who's poor will look at a book and say, that cost me $25. A wealthy mindset is going to look at a book and say, what can I do to make $1 million out of this book? Change your mindset around these things. It's not like I can't afford that. It's how can I afford that? How can I get into those rooms? Because those rooms are so critical. And I mean, like some of these masterminds that I've gone to, I've spent $5,000 for one ticket, and that doesn't include travel. That doesn't include your stay. That doesn't include your food. I've spent $10,000 on a ticket once, or a couple different times, and that doesn't include all those things. So it is a little sickening and it's a little gut wrenching, especially when you're not making a lot. So like that $10,000 or that $5,000, that's pretty sickening. And if you're doing different things, plus your travel throughout the year, plus you're trying to keep your business afloat, it's not an easy decision to make, but you have to go with intention. You don't want to go just to show up. Like you need to go with intention. What is the reason for me to go? Who am I trying to connect with? What am I going to get out of this? And be very intentional and curious, like you said in your podcast or with me. Get curious, but be intentional.
Oh, that's so good because there's so many events out there. There's so many masterminds out there. It's like you could easily just throw your money at something and then get upset when you do not get the kind of return on investment that you're hoping for. So I love that. Hey, go with intention. You also brought forth this idea of like price versus cost, right? Price is what you pay today. Cost is like, what does it actually cost you if you don't go, if you don't make that, if you don't meet that person, that one connection that can change everything, if you don't invest in yourself, and I think that price versus cost thing is something that I don't know if it's talked about enough because we're all so busy. Most of the time we all talk about in terms of price.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. And it's all in the follow-up too. Like you have to be able to stay connected. You have to follow up
Yep.
with the people that you met because that's really where it's at. And I stress that even in real estate, the money is in the follow-up. Business and business, the
Mhm.
money is in the follow-up
Always.
110,000%. I mean, I'm getting a listing this week that I was told 2 years ago they were going with another agent. And I consistently followed up with them, not annoyingly, but just
Yep.
touch base with them. And they have flat out told me that I am the only one who has ever followed up with them. And that was 2 years ago. They were going to list 2 years ago, but the build was taking forever and all other things got in the
Okay.
way that we're actually signing papers tomorrow. That was 2 years. And I was
Money.
flat out told they were going with somebody else. I'm like, meh, until I
Okay.
see it, I'm going to continue to follow up with you. And even if I see it, I might just kind of like say hi, make, because they might end up
You
relisting
never
with
know.
later down the road. So like the follow up is a make or break in business, 100%.
Totally. Well, and I think, like you just said, they specifically mentioned that you were the only person. Follow up, like that gap between initial, like, hey, shake hands, meet, that initial contact, and whether it turns into good business or not is that follow up piece. And you will beat out your competitors almost 99% of the time
Yes.
in the follow up. I love that you bring that forth.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about too. So okay, let's here you are. You're following up with this person. You finally get the client. One thing you and I talked about before hopping on and actually pressing record was like, hey, let's talk about something that we're kind of unjuggling right now because that's unjuggle the struggle.
Mhm.
So clients, okay, we've got clients because you've done the follow up, and now because we're running businesses and this just happens, right? Clients either fall off or things go sideways. So you want
Yes.
to kind of like walk us through maybe some of the stuff that you're going through right now?
Yeah, I'll go through a couple of them. And it's really easy to get caught up in like, "Oh, what did I do wrong?" and like focusing on the
Mhm.
negatives because your brain is created to protect yourself. The caveman days, like your brain was created to protect you, the fight or flight. So your mind automatically would go to what did I do wrong? How, all those things, which you kind of want to figure out because I do believe that 100% of the things that happen in your life is your fault. Like you need to take responsibility for it. But some things may feel
Mhm.
out of your control. But here recently, I actually reached out to my husband a couple days ago and told him because I whenever I struggle with something, if I can just like text somebody and tell them, I feel like it relieves a lot of stress off of me.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of listings. I mean, I have a lot of listings right now, and it's hard to kind of keep up with it. But I have had situations here recently where a seller and we decided to part ways. He fired me, I fired him. It just was not working. He was expecting me to text him back at 10:30 at night, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I sat him down. I was like, I got 3 little ones. I need to keep this separate. I'm not going to respond before 8 a.m. And I'm not responding after 8 p.m. or really 6
Mhm.
p.m., depending on the situation, unless we are in a negotiation. And then he gave me all reasons why he had to be, he was on call when there was pipe leaks and water leaks. I'm like, okay, well, in real estate, that doesn't happen. I don't need to go fix the water. But anyway, so we decided to part ways, which I was fine with, but a little bit frustrating because a month and a half, now they did list it quite a bit lower than where I had it. It went under contract. Well, then
Mhm.
fast forward, I had another transaction or a lady that I spent hours and hours with. And she was like, nope, I am not taking a dime under $385,000. My recommended price range was like 345 to 360. And I was like, I spent hours with her in person. She doesn't do electronic signature. She doesn't have an email. So I was like, I can't spend hours and hours and hours with somebody who's not going to be realistic. So I responded back to her. I said, hey, until we can get to the point of being a little bit more realistic on price and that you're willing to like actually sign, I think, you going a different direction may be the better option, but I'm happy to help, if we can get closer to the recommended price range. Little while later, she ends up listing with another agent at $360,000 and it goes under contract in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, cool.
Mhm.
And then here recently, another
Mhm.
situation, a past client of mine ended up listing with another agent. And I was really close to these people. They weren't friends, but I got almost like close enough that they felt comfortable coming to me with their own personal relationship problems. Now, I don't know if they're getting divorced. I don't know if they're working it out. But it got to be like super personal. They were sending me screenshots and text messages of what each other was saying to each other, why they were doing that. I have no idea. I didn't want to be a part of it. So I'm guessing that's probably why they went a different direction, which is a good thing. I don't
A
want
good thing for
to
sure.
all of that out, but even those things are going on. I start getting into my mind, like, what am I doing wrong? Why, like, am I not good enough for this? Why are things not selling right
Mhm.
now? Like, what the heck is going on? And so you start getting into your own mind, and things usually happen in threes, and it's hard to kind of get your mind out of that. But I've been very open, obviously, to my husband about that, and even the agents in my office, like, hey, this is happening. This is my struggle that I need to work through, and but I need to be okay with those failures or those losses, I guess you could say. I wouldn't say they were failures.
Yeah.
But then the most recent one is I have an agent who literally filed a complaint against me through the Nebraska Real Estate Commissioners. It is the funniest thing. And like, I have to go to a hearing about it. Like, it's the wildest thing. I just got another email about it today. So anybody who wants to, it'll be August 18th in Lincoln. You can come.
Look at you. You're like throwing a party for yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Come celebrate the hearing.
Like, I find this comical. And this agent literally maybe does like 2 or 3 transactions a year. I do on average 70. Okay. So this kind of goes back to what I said before. You will never be criticized by somebody doing more than you. You're only going to be criticized by somebody doing less than you.
You just okay, so the amount of ownership that you just took of that, like about like who you are, like what you do, like being able to, it almost like felt while you were giving these examples, it almost felt like you have the ability to kind of like do the scan and the assessment of the situation, like, and ask yourself, okay, like, what do I need to take responsibility for here?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to be radically open and honest about, not just for myself, because I'm not trying to process things, in a closet or in a silo, but to bring others along either with me for advice so that I can level up how I handle this, and or two, so that they can learn from me. And so I think that openness is key too. When you start going down the path of, I don't know what I could be doing different, or like, what is actually happening here? How do you pull yourself out of it?
This is kind of interesting because I also struggle with like depression, and this does relate. Bear with me, but physically, when I start feeling my depression come on, I feel it like physically in my throat. It's so weird. But I have learned that in business and with my depression too, if I can reach out to my mom or my husband, just say, hey, I'm not feeling myself today, or I'm feeling kind of down. Like, literally for me, just letting somebody know and telling somebody that automatically will release some of what's going on. But if like it's really getting to me, a lot of times, like, I will write things down, like, what is going on? What am I going through? Why am I feeling this way? And then I just either leave it here for a little while and then I'll throw it away, or I throw it away right away. But because you can't dwell on those things. You cannot dwell on them. You cannot let those things get to you. You have to move on, because this agent who reported me, I am going to ask him how much I owe, because I have been living rent free in his head for a very long time. So I owe him something. You know what I mean? Like, I owe him rent somehow, some way. And I think it's crazy. Like, if he would take that energy, that focus on me, and focus it on himself, his personal self, and his business, he could be so much more successful. But so many of us get so fixated on the negativity that surrounds us that we can't even look for opportunities. We can't even see abundance. And it's so easy to get closed-minded when we go down that rabbit hole. Now, 2 years ago, I had a horrible mental breakdown, and I was on another podcast talking about this, that I remember standing on my porch, forcing myself to get outside, and I had to force myself to go on a walk. Now, that sounds easy, but when I was in this mental breakdown, like, I lost 18 pounds in 2 weeks. I was sleeping maybe an hour a night. It was horrible. The worst thing. I would never wish it upon anybody else. But that's what came out of my Real Moms community. Then my Real Moms podcast came out of this mental breakdown, because I needed to create a sense of community of like-minded women, that we go through these struggles, no matter how long in business you've been in, no matter how great of a business owner you are, no matter how great of a mom you are, whatever the case is. But I remember standing on my porch, forcing myself. It was one of the hardest things I had to make myself do. But you have to do things that you know you need to do, especially when you don't want to do them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and that includes probably like the actually reaching out for support. Like I know for me, I have to use your terms, like I have to force myself to raise my hand and almost like say, hey, I'm not okay today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not okay today. And to not have, sometimes I can say more than that because I know exactly what's bothering me, or other times it's like, I'm not okay today. And that's about as much as I can give. And that's okay too. Like, so being willing, able, having grace to just say, hey, I need a little bit of support. And then I love your really practical tool too of like getting those thoughts that are no longer serving you out of your head. They are not paying rent. They do not get to live there for rent free.
Right.
So write those suckers down, and then you throw it away, huh? You throw it away, you burn it, like you actually physically discard it.
Throw it away in my trash can that says take me out. It's a little kitty cat and it says take me out. Yeah. Me out. So yeah, that's right. Throw it away.
I love it. Oh, so good. So then with this like internal battle, now you get to the other side of it, right? And you feel the level up.
Yeah. And you feel the level up, but keep in mind that's not always like, I got that email again from the Nebraska real estate commissioners that says, oh, you need all this. I'm like, all right, you know what? So I had kind of let it go because I hadn't had an email for about a week, but now it kind of brought me back into it. I was like, all right, ChatGPT. And then I sent it out to probably 15 different agents in our local area, letting them know, hey, here's what's going on. I would love for you to come to support me. Let me know if you have any questions. If you've had issues with this individual, which I did send it to the agents who also had issues with this individual. But I'm going to let people know, did I make a mistake? 100%. Will I own up to it? Absolutely. Does it need to go to this extent? No. If you have an issue with another agent or they made a mistake on our MLS in the remarks, contact them. Say, hey, because your relationship with other people in business is a make or break in your success. So if you're going to be petty and take time to go file a legitimate complaint, I mean, when I say take time, I mean hours and days, to the point that he even has to show up to the hearing. No complaint is worth my time for me to complain about another agent like that. You know what I mean? So if he's wasting my time, I'm going to bring him down with me.
Do you think that, like, okay, harsh question here, all right, but we're on Juggling the Struggle and we do it authentically and boldly. Do you think like any energy that you have had while processing like this gentleman who's bringing this complaint forth, do you think that any of that energy has contributed to the to these client weird situations like that the fight, like where you had to separate from certain clients because it just wasn't working? Do you think that energy?
No, only because this all came up after those situations arose.
Okay.
But I do believe that it does affect me in other ways, whether it's with my relationship at home, or relationship, with my kids or my husband, because it hangs there a little bit. And I have gone back and forth so many times because the old me would just fire right back, like would blast an email. But I have gone back and forth between my broker and I, another broker here locally, me and ChatGPT, me talking to God, like, hey, give me a sign. Should I send out this email to all the agents? And I was like, nope, I just need to take time. And I let it go, for a week, 10 days, whatever it was. And then I get this email again. It was like, okay, I'm going to send out a nice one to only limited agents. So yes, I think it does affect me, but not the way it would have way back in the day. Like a new agent that I'm bringing on, I'm kind of walking her through the whole process. I invited her to come with to learn what this is about, because I don't even know. And I'm not ashamed of it, because we all go through these mistakes. But I just find it, I think it affects me a little bit, but if I was a newer agent, I would probably be having a mental breakdown. I'd be scared shitless. Like me, I'm like, all right, bring it on. Like, let's hear it. Because we're going to get there. And these people on the board are going to be like, this is really a hearing we're talking about.
It's part of your level up. And I think that, and I think a lot really comes from that ability to sit there and take the hot second to assess the situation, because it sounds like if that's a normal or I don't know, natural, and then you've leveled it up over the last few years is what it sounds like. This
Mm-hmm.
ability to scan the room, reassess, and
Yeah.
that in doing that, you're able to compartmentalize that anything associated with, this client fall off over here, it can stay over here. Yes, I'm bummed about it, but I'm not going to let it seep over and drastically impact this wonderful client relationship.
Right.
And it's kind of like this sequence of compartmentalizing and reassessing.
Right.
Kind of
Yeah.
what it sounds like.
Yeah. And I do 100% satisfaction guaranteed. So I tell all of my sellers, like, I will not hold you to a contract because this is a win-win relationship. I am not
Yeah.
working for you. I'm working with you. And I will have those hard conversations. And it's not always easy. You know, obviously I'm always getting blamed for a house not selling or whatever the case is, but you got to be able to set that aside, and it's not, it's not easy to do. It is not.
It's not easy to do, but you can tell that it makes you the
Yes.
entrepreneur that you are. And it
Yes.
puts you in a position to continue to scale your business. And it puts you in a position to even do things like hire the right people, which I know we've talked about as something that you're like, hey, I have figured this particular piece of my business out
Yeah.
100%. So when you're looking for hiring the right people in your business, so we've already kind of said, hey, your ability to scan the situation to make sure that you're really focusing on that particular piece. What would you say would be some unjuggle the struggle tips for folks as they are trying to expand their business?
Yeah. So slow to hire, quick to fire. Fortunately, like I told you before, I haven't actually had to fire anybody. Like I had to make a shift in a decision, I didn't fire them because they were doing a bad job. I just felt that shifting them out and somebody else in was a better decision. And I've had to do that 2 or 3 different times, one with my transaction coordinators, and then another one with my marketing director and my marketing manager, because it wasn't that the other did a great job, but both situations were a little bit different. But it just comes back to slow to hire, quick to fire. Now, I wish I would have hired a long time ago, but at the same time, it's okay that I didn't, because I didn't know what their role was going to be. I'm the worst boss ever. Like I joke with my virtual assistant. I'm like, am I just a terrible boss? And she just laughs. She's like, no, because she's a very analytical person. I am not. So she wants a breakdown of what to do exactly. I'm like, I don't know, do this for all my listings, do this for my closings, and then just do other things in between. And she's like, what? But I'm like, I don't know.
No.
But no, it's awesome. I love it. So I wouldn't say I got it down 100%, but I definitely have it down a lot better. And just being patient and knowing your weaknesses and being able to delegate those. So I don't like bookkeeping. I have delegated that forever, because if I'm spending 5 to 10 hours doing my own bookkeeping every month, 1, I'm going to mess it up. I know I will. 2, I don't enjoy it. So my hourly time is worth so much more than that. Plus, I'm going to mess it up and do all the things wrong anyway. So I do delegate a lot more than what I ever thought I have.
Yeah.
Doing things like that, like photography, staging, marketing, transaction coordinator, my CPA, my bookkeeping, delegating all of these things, a cleaning lady, I want to delegate somebody to cook for me, but we live way out in the country. But, you got to.
That's next.
Yeah, I know it would be. If I didn't live so far out, I think I could find somebody. But you got to find what your weaknesses are and not focus on them and work on them. You just got to delegate them. Okay, I'm terrible at numbers. I'm terrible at detail-oriented things. I know that. Everybody around me knows that. I am not an attention to detail person. I am not an analytical person. So I'm not going to do things that requires me to be detail-oriented. I let that stuff go. Nah, not for me. Or cleaning our Airbnb. I hate cleaning. So I'm not going to be the one to go clean my Airbnb. I'll have somebody else do that. Find the things that you don't enjoy and the things that are a struggle for you and delegate them. Write down, what are you worth per hour, and say, okay, well, if I can do this for less, or if I can hire somebody else for quite a bit less, then do it.
Do it. Yep. Yeah. The figure out what your time is worth per hour. That was an exercise I did a while ago. And it was like, dang, looking like making decisions through that
Yeah.
lens, it
Mhm.
changes things.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, okay, wow, could I really be doing this? Or again, kind of going back to the price and the cost
Mhm.
of things. You're like,
Mhm.
well, the price is, for instance, the cleaning lady cost $200. The
Mhm.
cost, though, if my hourly rate is way above that, holy cow, what am I doing here? And
Right.
so that was,
Right.
that was a good exercise I did in our household too. Um,
Well, and honestly, the reason I switched to a virtual assistant for my marketing is because my
yeah.
marketing lady, I knew her value is so much more than what I was paying her. So
Mm,
her and I sat here and we broke it down. And at worst case scenario, when she's doing her photography stuff, what is she making per hour, even if she's doing her own editing? And it came out to be like $55 an hour. I said, great, we're going to find a virtual assistant who can do the editing for you. Even though she's a little OCD, I was like, you can find somebody else. So we kind of we broke it down, and if she hired somebody to do her editing and it took them twice as long as it did her, her bottom dollar would be $125 an hour is what she's worth. I'm like, okay, so bare minimum $55 an hour. I was paying her 20. I'm like, you're
mm,
worth so much more. So that was honestly the reason why I chose to
that's
go a different
huge.
direction, is not because she wasn't doing a great job. I knew
Yeah,
her worth way more than she does. I'm like, you
that's
are worth
amazing.
so much more than $20 an hour. So
Yeah.
much more. Like,
And that's part of that leadership thing, like being able
yeah,
to see others for like the strengths that maybe they
yes,
don't even know they have, or they're dabbling in, when really they are truly so much more of an expert than they give themselves credit for, just as much as it is for us to be able to look in the mirror and say, yeah, this is not my strength. I
right,
know I'm in a position right now where I've got a very short window of time over the next probably 3-ish months, 3 to 6 months, to really look at and go, okay, what do I love doing in my business? What
mhm,
do I not so love doing in my business? What
mhm,
am I really freaking great at doing in my business? And
mhm,
then what takes me way too dang long? And kind
right,
of looking at those 4 boxes and saying, okay, the first hire I make needs to be able to do this and this and this.
yeah,
And then to start setting my sights on who that person is going to be. Like,
right.
what skill set is that really going to look like? So
Right.
that's
And
kind of
that's
where I'm at
why,
too.
I hired this virtual assistant, and I didn't go on to like Fiverr and hire my own. Like, I went through a company. Actually, I went through a friend who kind of helps between the company and myself to find
Hmm.
the right VA. So, and then they do all the training and the onboarding, they do the scrubbing, they do all the interviewing. They
Awesome.
help me set up my SOP to figure out, okay, who am I hiring? What am I hiring for? And then my friend Art was telling me like what he generally pays, because I have no idea. I was paying $20 an hour, but I can find somebody for $4.50 an hour. Sign me up, But like, so this company did all of the interviewing, and they interviewed probably 20 different VAs, and then they narrowed
Mm,
it down to 4. And then I got onto the interview, had the interview between my friend and then him and I decided who we wanted to hire, who we wanted to offer the job up to. And then
yep.
this company still does like training on the VA side, training on my side. So I have that support. Like, you pay a little bit more, but
Yes.
it helps free up so much more time. And that was like, again, it kind of goes back to proximity is power. And my friend is the one who helped get me connected. And then, if anybody else was interested in hiring a VA and going that route, I could definitely get them connected with him to help
Yep.
get connected through that company, because it's just easier to go through him than the company itself. So that way you
So
have that missing link that will hold you guys together.
well, and letting people who like have these businesses, letting people who this is their strength, letting them do the things that they can do so that they can
Mhm.
literally serve up the home run for you, so
Yeah.
that all you got to do is show up in your strengths and know exactly what you want, and send that baby out to the field.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Very much so. Hmm.
So good. So good. I have loved this conversation. I love, like, I feel like we traveled so far and wide.
Yeah, we did. And we could even go a whole lot further.
I know. It was so good. So thank you. Anything else? So I've got a couple questions that I always ask at the end of these with friend episodes. Is there anything else before I ask you these questions, though, that just kind of comes to mind about something that you'd really want to make sure that the listener today's episode, like, is hearing loud and clear from some of the stuff that you've learned or suggestions that you would make.
Yeah, a couple things is it's okay to not be okay, kind of like what we talked about before. And then it is okay to kind of have those slow times in your businesses because your kids are young or they have like baseball season or softball season and you're going to be a little bit slower. It's okay to not be so busy during those times. And it's very, very, very hard for me to not be okay because I like to go, 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 go. And when I have to spend every single evening at baseball and softball, it's kind of a struggle, but at the same time, I love it. Like I love going and watching my kids. I love spending that time, but you have to remember that it's okay to not constantly be grinding in your business and spend that time with your family and have that personal connection, that quality time. I've really learned that over the last couple months on how important that quality time is with your kids, but also your significant other. Like it is such a break. It really, really is because without them, what am I working so hard for? Why? Why?
Yeah.
So just realizing that we need to take that time. You work hard, play hard. You hear that a lot, but it is true. Like you need to take that time to actually spend that quality time with your family and your friends. And this is the first year that I've probably spent more than like 3 weekends away and not doing open houses. Like we're actually going on these different trips and these vacations. Like I'll go on work trips. Yeah. But I'm like,
so proud of you.
Yeah, we took a 5-day camping trip, which, that's a lot. We're going on a 4-day camping trip this week. Like there's just a lot, but it's okay to do those things.
So good. Yeah. That permission, that like, it's called seasons for a reason.
Yeah.
There's
Very much
seasons.
so.
There's seasons. Yep. Now, is this some of the stuff that you talk about on your podcast, the Real Moms podcast? What do you talk about on the podcast?
Yeah. So kind of like raw and authentic. So resilient entrepreneurs and abundant living is really what it comes down to, is knowing that the people that, because I remember sitting back and seeing people who are successful. I'm like, oh, that must be nice. It's so easy. Everything they have is, smooth sailing. Like every new level is another devil. Every new level is a new devil. So I don't care at what level you are in life, you're going to have struggles. But the struggles today are struggles that I had 7 years ago getting into business are like this, where back then they seemed like mountains. Now they're just little speed bumps. Now I got real problems that seem a lot bigger, but in 5 years, my real problems are going to seem so small. So you have to constantly keep learning and overcoming those challenges and work through them, not around them. You have to work through it and not around. You cannot avoid these problems and struggles and challenges and all the things. Like you have to work through it. Otherwise it's always going to be there.
Yeah. It's like the story of like going on a bear hunt. You're like, you can't go over it, can't go under it, can't go around. Gotta go through it.
Oh my gosh, yes. That is so fun. I gotta look that up.
Can you tell we're moms?
Yep. Oh gosh, that's been a long time since I've said that. I'm gonna have to look up to see what that is.
It's so good. Awesome. Yes. So yeah, I had the pleasure of being a guest on Shae's podcast, and it really was just a wonderful conversation. I had checked out some episodes myself too, and I really appreciate what you're doing on your podcast. So anybody listening today, if you vibe on the Unjuggled Struggle podcast, the Real Moms podcast, I think you'd enjoy that too. Shae, I always ask a few questions at the end of the episode. So the first question, look, she's like buckling in. The first question I want to ask, okay, is so a lot of the stuff that I talk about is this idea around quitting the things that are no longer serving you. Mm-hmm. So when I say that phrase, quitting the things no longer serving you, what comes to mind?
Not always pleasing and saying yes to everybody, because you feel like, especially as an entrepreneur and as a business owner and as a mom, that you have to say yes to everything. And I don't remember if it was maybe you or somebody else on the podcast for Real Moms that we were having the conversation that it's such a big hype to have all your kids in all these different activities, but being okay and saying no, that they don't have to be in club soccer and club baseball and club gymnastics and club volleyball and club, I don't know, anything else out there. Like it is exhausting listening to some of these parents like, oh, I got to run my kids here and here and here. I'm like, let them be kids, Yeah. So being okay with not having them involved in every single activity, pick a couple of them, find things that they enjoy, like a lot of times when it comes to like dance and gymnastics, parents will get their kids, their daughters into gymnastics and dance, and then they'll figure it out. We've always just alternated dance this year, gymnastics next year, and then let the girls decide, or whoever decide when they get older, what do you want to do? Leave it up to them.
Yep.
Do you want to do basketball this year? Because I'm not going to force you anymore, because that's just hitting a damn wall. Do you want to do volleyball? That's just another wall I'm hitting. I'm done. You do your, I mean, like, I want to keep you busy. You're not going to sit at home and do nothing. You can work, but so.
Yeah, I love it. I love that answer. And I love asking that question because everyone answers it so differently. So I just think that's, beautiful that this idea of like, hey, I don't have to please everybody. Like, what are we saying yes to and why? And just being okay with choosing something different than what everybody else kind of seems to be choosing.
Yeah.
So really good. Okay. Then I always ask the person who was on the show prior to your episode releasing, I ask them to leave you a question. Oh. So the question for you, the question for you is coming from Tamara Andrus. She is this wonderful best-selling author, speaker, mentor, coach, all of the things. And she asks, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
What is going to be written on your tombstone today versus what you want it to say?
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. What is going to be written on my tombstone today versus what I wanted to say? I've never thought about that. I would think that people would tell or have it say something along the lines of like, something about like not slowing down. Like I'm always on the go and constantly grinding and always looking for the next thing. And I've had people say like, can't you just be happy? Well, I am happy, but I'm also like, I'm not satisfied. Like I know there's more to life and I want to continue to seek it. So probably something along the lines of that. But I would love it to say, and I would think that people would also say this as well, is that like, I would do anything for anybody. I would give the shirt off my back. I mean, it's kind of cliche. You hear that a lot, but I mean, I really truly want, that's kind of why the Real Moms thing was created, was because I want people to see their value, especially the value that I see in them. But it's hard to bring that out in some people and help them to realize that there is so much more to life in this world. And they're worth so much more than what they perceive themselves to be.
Oh, so good. And so true. And we won't get into it because we are like wrapping up the episode, but I can tell like that's like such a deeply rooted purpose for you based on a story that you were sharing about something that you and your family went through in 2023, and the way that you hung in with you just through this season for your family. You hung in there because you cherished the other person's value, and you wanted to give, I mean, you gave them financially, you gave them time, like you gave so much just to make sure that they would see it to the other side of that situation. And so I think like you said, even today, I think a lot of people would say that already. So very cool. All right. And now your turn. So for the next guest, you leave a question. Sometimes I know who the next guest is. Sometimes I don't know who the next guest is. So just a question that you would want to leave for the next guest of the Unjuggle the Struggle podcast.
What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self, like before getting, or like whether you're just starting your entrepreneurship journey or going to be starting it or thinking about starting it? What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Okay, now you have to answer. Now I got to know. What's the one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Believe in yourself. I mean, you just have to 100% go with conviction and believe in yourself. Have that faith in God, a higher power, and in yourself. Don't ask questions and opinions of others. And then the quote of get comfortable being uncomfortable. But I really like to flip that around and say, get uncomfortable being comfortable. And that sounds weird, but if you are comfortable in your life, you are not growing. So you need to be uncomfortable being comfortable. It's a lot of
So
uncomfortable
good.
stuff.
It's
But
a lot of uncomfortable stuff, but it's so
yeah.
right. I was talking with a client today and literally was like, I just am, it's this roller coaster. And you're like, what it is it's discomfort.
Yes.
It's you're walking in unfamiliar territory from an identity perspective and it feels uncomfortable. That's the feeling you're sitting in right now. And he was like, yeah, this sucks. And it was like, yeah, yeah, it does suck a little bit. And also, it's exactly what's going to level you up on the other side of it. So sit in the suck, embrace the suck, right? Like that's a thing people talk about it. Get uncomfortable. Being comfortable is like your signal of, hey, something's got to switch up here. Yes. Yeah. And that's your way to get to the other side of it.
Yeah.
I love that. I think some advice I'd give my younger self, because I think that's such a great question. I love that you asked that. Advice I'd give my younger self, like the first thing that kind of comes to mind is just this, I guess, I don't know, it's like encouragement cry of like, go girl, go. Like just go, like run that race. Like give it what you got, like screw all the other rules and the red tape, like just go.
Right.
And I think that if I would have had a little bit more of a just go mentality a little bit sooner, that things would have maybe been a little, or I would have started my entrepreneurial journey a hell of a lot sooner. That's what would have changed.
Right.
And the way that entrepreneurship has just radically, opened up abundance in my life. That's kind of where that is coming from. So,
but at the same time, I believe that you're where you're at and the perfect timing, that God has a plan. Like, yes, we could always say, what was one piece of advice? Like shoulda, woulda, coulda. But I think everything happens for a reason and you're right where you are meant to be. But it's okay to not know where you're going, but it's not okay to not get up every day to constantly learn and figure out where that's at.
Exactly. To force yourself to keep walking, to force yourself to go on that walk. So good. So good. I loved this conversation. Thank you so much, Shae. You are absolutely incredible. Can you tell everybody where else they can find you, connect with you, all of the things?
Yeah. So you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. My VA wants me to start a TikTok. I think I have an account, but I don't know. I don't use it. But you can find me at Shae J Spitz. So it's SHAEJ for Joe, and then Spitz, SPITZ. You can find me there on all my social media. So hope to connect with you.
Awesome. And I'll include all of that in the show notes too. Shae, thank you. I so appreciate you. I love you. Thanks for being here. Until next time, guys. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.